But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian. Together. The Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor contends that people aren't blank slates, but that our identities, personal and national, are constituted through history. In his words, the past is sedimented in the present, and our choices are shaped by what came before. Our country was built on the bedrock of three peoples: Indigenous, French, and British. Long before the battle on these plains, long before the first French ships sailed up the St. Lawrence, Indigenous peoples were the original stewards of this land. They built nations, trading networks, and systems of governance that spanned the entire continent. The Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Innu shaped this land and were shaped by it. Then the French came. They built a new society adapted to the realities of North America, shaped by the river and forest, by trade with indigenous nations, and by the determination to survive and flourish in this land. When the British came, that civilization did not disappear. It endured, and now it thrives. La Confédération est née de cette histoire. L'une de ses pères fondateurs, José-Étienne Cartier, a déclaré à l'époque que les Canadiens et Canadiennes étaient des races différentes, non pas se faire la guerre, mais afin de travailler conjointement à leur propre bien-être, qui vivent les uns à côté des autres comme de grandes familles. Ce pacte a été renouvelé lorsque Wilfrid Laurier a gouverné un pays qui avait autrefois conquis son peuple. Il a été renouvelé avec l'avènement du bilinguisme officiel. Il a été renouvelé lorsque les Québécois ont choisi, à deux reprises, de rester au sein du Canada, estimant que ce partenariat, malgré toutes ces frustrations, méritait non seulement d'être préservé, mais aussi d'être renforcé. Les plans d'Abraham symbolisent un champ de bataille, oui, mais ils symbolisent aussi le lieu où le Canada a commencé à faire le choix historique de privilégier l'adaptation plutôt que l'assimilation, ou le partenariat plutôt que la domination, ou la collaboration plutôt que la division. Oui, cette fondation était imparfaite. Elle excluait trop de gens. Elle reposait en partie sur la dépossession de peuples autochtones et sur la violation des traités conclus avec eux. Mais cette fondation reposait sur l'idée fondamentale que l'unité ne passe pas nécessairement par l'uniformité, que nous pouvons partager un pays sans nous conformer à une identité unique, que nos différences reconnues honnêtement et gérées dans le respect sont une source de force. Ce choix résonne à travers notre histoire. Il résonne dans les choix faits par les nouveaux arrivants venus de quatre coins du monde pour s'établir au Canada. Il résonne dans les choix faits par chaque génération déterminée à continuer à bâtir, non pas sur le sein ou sur la terre, mais sur quelque chose de plus exigeant et de plus durable, un engagement commun à vivre ensemble, à accepter les différences et à rechercher le bien commun. Et grâce à chacun de ces choix, le Canada est devenu plus riche, plus inclusif et plus équitable. What makes Canada a great country? It's a great country for everyone. It's the greatest country in the world to be a regular person. You don't have to be born rich or to a landed family here. You don't have to be a certain color or worship a certain God. Canadians believe in the value of every other Canadian, their boundless potential to make this great country even better. Our ancestors, despite their differences, believed in each other and in us. Now, there are long periods of history where these values can prosper unchallenged. Ours is not one of them. Our values must be fought for. That's what we are doing. That's what Canadians want. Canadians are up for it. Our history traces an arc of broadening inclusion from biculturalism to multiculturalism, from being British subjects to becoming Canadian citizens, from being two founding peoples to being many peoples living in true partnership with Indigenous peoples. From William Lyon Mackenzie's King's social citizenship to Louis Saint Laurent's liberal internationalism, from Diefenbaker's One Canada to Pierre Elliott Trudeau's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Brian Mulroney's environmentalism to Justin Trudeau's pluralism and reconciliation, each generation of Canadians has built a modern, progressive, liberal state that embraces the values of caring and sharing, of equity and fairness for all. Institutions make up the body of that progressive state, but our values are at its heart. Institutions from the civil code to public health care, from modern self-government agreements to Parliament's recognition of the Quebec people as a nation. Values of inclusivity, fairness, solidarity, sustainability, and ambition. Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs, when newcomers are welcome, when minorities are protected, when Indigenous peoples are true partners. That commitment to inclusion was institutionalized, first in the Bill of Rights and then embedded in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy and then as law. In the same spirit, the enshrinement into law of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples reflects our fundamental commitment to reconciliation and to respecting Indigenous peoples as equal partners in building our country together. And inclusion means going beyond the protection of rights to the commitment to creating a society in which everyone can flourish. That's why we introduced the Combating Hate Act, to preserve the freedom of people to practice their faith and culture without intimidation, harassment, or violence. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes veillent les unes sur les autres, surtout dans les moments difficiles. Et cet esprit de solidarité a inspiré les fondements de l'État-providence moderne au lendemain de la Grande Dépression, notamment l'assurance chômage, les allocations familiales et la sécurité de la vieillesse. De nouveaux piliers institutionnels de solidarité ont été ajoutés avec la création du régime de pension du Canada et de la loi canadienne sur la santé. Je suis fier, vous êtes fiers, que nous ayons élargi ces fondements au cours des dernières années avec le régime national de soins dentaires, les services de garde d'enfants, le plan d'assurance médicaments et le programme national d'alimentation scolaire. Au Canada, c'est lorsque nous sommes unis que nous sommes les plus forts, lorsque nous veillons les uns sur les autres et que nous veillons à ce qu'aucun enfant, aucune famille, personne ne soit laissé pour compte. Cet esprit de solidarité et de générosité contribue à définir notre identité en tant que nation. Canadians believe that fairness includes equality of opportunity, so that every Canadian has a shot at a good and fulfilling life. And the foundation of this commitment is access of every Canadian to comparable public services, particularly education and healthcare. These commitments were institutionalized when equalization was first introduced in 1950 and then embedded in our Constitution in 1982. And by protecting services like childcare, dental care, pharmacare, we strengthen the sense of security that Canadians rely on every day. A strong and united Canada stands up for families and workers and protects those who are most vulnerable, whether they're a newcomer, a person with a disability, or a member of the two-spirited LGBTQI+ community. Now, friends, the advent of artificial intelligence will simultaneously challenge fairness, inclusion, and solidarity, while it creates enormous opportunities for how we live, work, and play. And these tensions can only be reconciled if AI works for all. AI can provide powerful solutions, better healthcare, better education, better government services. It can empower Canadians with new skills for more fulfilling jobs. But realizing that potential will require fundamental reforms to our education system, how we do skills training, and to our social welfare system. Our upcoming AI for All strategy will begin to tackle these challenges to maximize the potential of AI for all Canadians. Le développement durable assure l'équité entre les générations. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont les gardiens d'un territoire vaste et précieux. Nous avons pris des mesures pour protéger au moyen de traités internationaux comme le traité sur les pluies acides et l'accord de Paris de 2015, ainsi que par nos progrès constants en matière de conservation de notre patrimoine naturel, conformément à nos engagements pris lors de la conférence de Montréal en 2022. Au cours des prochains mois, notre gouvernement mettra en œuvre de nouveaux plans ambitieux visant à accélérer le développement durable au pays, à réduire les facteurs liés à l'énergie des familles et entreprises et à protéger la richesse naturelle du Canada. Canada is ambitious. Canada is an ambitious nation of builders and explorers. We mapped this continent before the Americans had even left St. Louis. We built a transcontinental railway in 5 years, the St. Lawrence Seaway in 4. We created a healthcare system that became a model for the world. This government, Canada's new government, shares that ambition. We've already removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're catalyzing hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in nation-building projects. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade. And we're working to ensure that core Canadian capabilities, including in AI, in quantum, in cyber, and critical minerals, will maximize the economic benefit for Canadians of these new security imperatives. Now we need to execute fairly and fast. Les valeurs canadiennes telles que l'inclusion, la solidarité, l'équité, la durabilité et l'ambition ne sont pas des idéaux abstraits, mais des guides pratiques qui font partie intégrante de notre identité. Notre tâche est de nous en inspirer pour continuer à bâtir en ces temps révolutionnaires. Dans des moments comme ceux-ci, le Canada doit assumer 2 rôles à la fois. Premièrement, il doit être une bastion de sécurité et de prospérité pour nos citoyens. Nous devons défendre notre souveraineté, sécuriser nos frontières, protéger nos communautés et bâtir une économie qui offre des possibilités à tous les Canadiens et toutes les Canadiennes. That's why we're undertaking the strongest tightening of the criminal justice system in generations. It's why we're making the largest investment in defense in generations. It's why we're securing our borders through more CBSA agents and greater surveillance resources. And it's why we're building one Canadian economy and launching nation-building projects that will connect and transform our country. We will give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take from us. A core mission, while we're doing that, a core mission of our government is to lower costs for Canadians. That's why on day one we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax. That's why we've cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's why we've cut taxes for first-time homebuyers. It's why we reduced tolls on the Confederation Bridge and Atlantic Ferry fares. It's why we're launched, and we have launched, Build Canada Homes, to build affordable housing construction at a pace not seen since the end of the Second World War. This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that our most vulnerable get the money to which they are entitled. We also made the National School Food Program permanent so that kids have the nutrition they need at school. We've started, as we mean to go on, with a relentless focus on improving affordability to help Canadians get ahead. I said we had to do two things. The first is to be a bastion. The second is to be a beacon, an example to a world that's at sea. In a time of rising populism and ethnic nationalism, Canada can show how diversity is a strength, not a weakness. In a time of democratic decline, we can show how rights can be protected and equal freedoms endure. And in a time of rising walls and thickening borders, we can demonstrate how a country can be both open and secure, welcoming and strong, principled and powerful. There are literally billions of people who aspire to what we have built: a pluralistic society that works, a public square that's loud, diverse and free, an economy that delivers broadly shared prosperity, a democracy that chooses to protect the most vulnerable against the powerful. Now, Canada can't solve all the world's problems, but we can show that another way is possible, that the arc of history isn't destined to be warped towards authoritarianism and exclusion. It can still bend towards progress and justice. There you go. So let me return to where I began, where Canada began. 267 years ago, this ground was soaked with blood. Two empires had collided, one had prevailed, and the question was, what will come next? The answer that emerged slowly, imperfectly, not without struggle, but unmistakably, was cooperation, partnership, a shared future. That response was not inevitable. That response was chosen. Chosen by British administrators who eventually saw the wisdom of cooperation. Chosen by French Canadians who eventually committed to build within the new reality. Chosen by the founders of Confederation who believed that two peoples could become partners in one country. And chosen by every subsequent generation who built on that foundation. Les traces de notre passé sont ancrées dans notre présent, dans nos deux langues officielles, dans notre système fédéral, dans notre compréhension grandissante de la notion d'appartenance. Nous sommes désormais les gardiens de cet héritage. Et il est de notre responsabilité de la faire fructifier puisque nous avons la chance de le faire. In this time of great consequence, we are choosing. We are choosing to work together to build one Canadian economy. We've made great progress over the past year. Now we have to redouble our efforts with the provinces and territories. We're choosing to find new markets and develop new partnerships. We've announced a dozen new economic and security partnerships across 4 continents in the last 6 months. More will come, all will deepen. We choose to build in solidarity with Canadian workers, creating hundreds of thousands of good-paying union jobs and investing in apprenticeships and skills training so that young Canadians can have the careers of tomorrow. On choisit de bâtir avec des ressources canadiennes à l'aide de travailleurs de technologie et de matériaux canadiens. Nous serons nos meilleurs clients. De bâtir de manière durable, parce que nous savons que lutter contre les changements climatiques est à la fois un devoir moral et un impératif économique. We're choosing to build inclusively, in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, inclusively to ensure that AI benefits all Canadians, to respect diversity, to accept others, and to combat hate so that every Canadian feels free to be themselves and can thrive in the greatest country on earth. When we live our values, we grow as individuals and we build as a people. When we're kind, kindness grows. When we're united, unity grows. When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows. Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. C'est notre pays. C'est notre avenir. Le choix nous appartient. We choose to build a bright future worthy of the ground on which we stand. We choose Canada.